Hello and welcome to Women Wednesdays. Is everyone excited to be here? As you hear, we have a room full here at Domi Station. If you'd like to come and join us, we are live right now, and we would love to have you here. My name is Tamara Smith, and I am the Speaker Series Coordinator for Women Wednesdays, and our Women Wednesdays staff is up here as well. We're going to talk a little bit about what we do, but we are a collaborative community for women to learn, to be seen, and to be connected. And if you want to be connected to that mission, you can find out more on womenwednesdays.com. We are going to be, not trying to be, but are going to be a #1 city for women. So we want you to join. We want you to come and ask the questions you're not able to ask anywhere else, so that you can learn and strive and grow in whatever it is that you are pursuing. But right now, we are getting ready to have an awesome, you see this panel that we have right here. We're going to learn more about them in just a moment. We're excited to have our Trailblazers here. But first, Jackie, tell us a little bit more about Women Wednesdays.
Thanks again for being part of this group. We are a group of volunteers, so if you want to join us and help out behind the scenes, we totally would welcome that. We have a lot of great programs that we deal with. One of them is Trades Work, which is helping women get involved in the trades opportunities, because they're great businesses and they are great paying jobs. So if you want to get connected about that, come let us know. I was going to call somebody out, but I didn't know if they would want that, so I'm going to just hold my tongue. So forgive me. Another thing that Women Wednesday is about teaching our members. So we are going to do this summer something brand new. We're calling it Summer School. So we have a sign-up sheet up front, not to sign up to take the classes, but let us know what you would like to learn. Do you need help organizing your business? Do you need help with social media? Do you want help with Google Drive? Do you want help networking or figuring out your brand? Anything like that. List that on that form, and we're planning everything next week, and then we'll let you know what that structure looks like. But that's what we are about. We're about trying new things and helping all of you in our community learn and grow and thrive, like Tamara said. So I'm going to pass it over to Robin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Robin Yateman, and I am the membership coordinator for Women Wednesdays. If you're enjoying our speaker series or you've gotten some value from these meetings and the events that we're putting on, we'd love to have you be a member. It's $9 a month or $89 a year, and you can sign up easily online, or you can email me at members@womenwednesdays.com. And being a member gives you access to our meetings. It gives you a chance to take advantage of our free tech services, and also co-working here at Domi on Wednesdays from 9 to 5 is also free in your membership. So we'd love to have you join us. Thank you.
Barbara? Well, awesome. All right, we're going to do a little switch and break here. I'm going to pop on in.
Pass on the baton.
We're excited to welcome our founder, Barbara Westcott.
So there's just a few people that I would like to introduce. So Jackie had brought up about Trades Work, which we're super excited about that program. But there's someone here that's really instrumental in that program, and that's Commissioner Curtis Richardson. So if we could have a little applause for Commissioner Curtis Richardson. He just is such a big help to our community. Is there anything you wanted to say? Or he's good, he's good. He's here from the ladies, all right. But then I also, Cara, can I just introduce you very quickly? So Cara is the head, one of the leaders here at Domi Station. And so do you want to say a few words? Would you like to come up?
Hi, I'm Kara Holbert. I am the Associate Director here at Domi Station. We are a co-working facility and have public events here in the space. So I do encourage everyone to inquire if you are in need of a space to hold one of your business-related events. And we also have co-working office space and dedicated desks available for those who are interested, as well as our incubation program, which is completely virtual. So you can do it from the comfort of your own home if you are starting or thinking about starting your own business. So
That's great. Yeah, and we also have someone super famous here, and that would be Terrence Barber back there. So Terrence does Working Class Wednesdays, and it's just such an amazing program. But he's out and about in the community. He does so many amazing things. So I just want to give a shout out to Terrence. So I think we'll, one more little thing I wanted to say, and I don't want to throw under the bus, but there's someone new here called Christine. And I was at Kiki's restaurant this past weekend, and she was my waitress, and she was a wonderful waitress. But she also mentioned she is really wanted to get more engaged with the community, is looking for some internships. And, just after this event, there's a lot of people here that really might be able to engage with her about some opportunities. So I think just engaging with each other and seeing what each other needs and, how we can support each other is a great thing. So I think now is a great time to really get focused on today. Oh, I left off someone super important because it relates to her. So that's Kelly Audie, who's the head of Oasis Center for Women and Girls. Kelly really, to me, is our superhero for women. Everything that Oasis does and the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls is completely incredible. And I'm just so grateful that we have that in our community. But now we're looking at our Oasis Trailblazers, women who have blazed a trail. And we really have some amazing women here today. So without further ado, I think we want to get started and really get to know them and continue the conversation, because it was the Trailblazer Awards ceremony. But we want to just drill down a little bit more and get to know you that much better. So Barbara, I'm going to start with you. Can I hand this to you? And can you go ahead and introduce yourself? Just tell us about you.
Thanks,
Who are you,
Barbara. So I am Barbara Boone. I'm the Executive Director of Leadership Tallahassee. It's a program of the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce. I'm in my 24th year with the program. The organization is celebrating its 40th anniversary, and some of you in the room are graduates of Leadership Tallahassee, and that makes me very proud. Terrence and Curtis, Althemese and Argatha and others, Kelly. And so I would also like to use this opportunity to extend the invitation to apply to everyone else. Our applications are due April 3rd, so we're right in the middle of that. So talk to me afterwards to learn more. Pass the baton.
That's right, pass the baton.
Yep. And I'm Althemese Barnes. I was class 19. Back then, there was a generation of mixed. Everybody else was on the younger end. And so Sheriff Larry Campbell and I were the seniors with class 19. But I am the founder and executive emeritus of the John Gilmore Riley Center, Research Center and Museum that was founded in 1996. And I want to say that I stepped into that after 30 years as an equity coordinator with the Florida Department of State and Florida Department of Education. So when you add 30 and then you add 24 is when I stepped away. That's 54 years. So I won't go into a whole lot of what happened during that time, but we did produce over 28 publications and books based on the research of African American history in not only Tallahassee and Leon County, but across the state of Florida. And we had over 72 interns during that time. I heard internships. So that's a program that's ongoing at the Riley Museum. So we encourage anybody who wants to take advantage of that internship program to just give us a contact. And the Riley House, by the way, is at 419 East Jefferson Street, 2 blocks behind the Leon County Courthouse. Please visit.
Hi, everybody. My name is K.Jean Lewis. I am the Executive Director of Kaylin's Caring Connection, and I'm also the host of the Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Outside of helping my community and making sure I give back, I'm also a student who's a senior at Florida State University Schools, and I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you. My name is Argatha Gilmore, and I'm one of the assistant sheriffs at Leon County Sheriff's Office. And I'm excited to be here and to be a part of the Trailblazers caliber women who have set the standard for those who are before us and behind us. And we certainly want to make sure that we're making a difference doing that and carrying the torch of a trailblazer. Wasn't intentional. We just like to go ahead and break ceilings. They're there, so we just want to break them. So we're so glad to do that. Been in law enforcement, retired from Tallahassee Police Department, 25 years. After 25 years, I went to the city of Lake City and became the police chief there. And I do proudly wear the that title of being the first woman and the first African-American to be there for over 52 years in the existence of a law enforcement agency. So while I am not fighting crimes with the other law enforcement folk here in the city of Tallahassee, I enjoy being a woman. I tell them all the time, I might carry a gun on my side, but still open the door for me because it's still wonderful being a woman. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jan Auger. I'm the general manager of golf for the city of Tallahassee. I've worked there for 34 years. And when I started, there weren't hardly any women in golf, especially in management. And, you know, my vision for Heileman and J. Gaither golf courses, I always used to tell people all the time, I didn't think anyone was listening, that we're more than just a golf course. You know, it was my vision to be more than just a golf course. Excuse me. I'm very proud of what both golf courses have meant to the community. J. Gaither especially, and Commissioner, I'm sure you would agree with that. We just recently got recognized as a historic designation, national historic designation at J. Gaither Golf Course. So it's a great history. If anybody, I hope we are able to write a book about that. And you know, the other thing I'm very proud of is we work with prisoners in the DOC program. And so what my mission is before I retire is to have some kind of program and internships that we can help these young men that have made mistakes, just like we have all made mistakes in our lives, and to give them an opportunity. And we've been pretty successful so far. So like I say, we're more than just a golf course, but thank you.
So ladies, we want to ask you, what got you started in your particular areas? I know we all have a story and a journey to how we ended up where we are today. So what got you started? And you can also talk about some of the challenges and triumphs in those areas. Is there anyone that would like to get started? Althemese? Yeah, just like that. And you can hold it right there. There you go.
What got me started? First of all, I'm a native of Tallahassee, 5th generation. And through the years, I noted that the story, the history of African Americans, Blacks, Negroes, were not, and I put that in sequence because of the historical period during which the terminologies were used. I noticed that very little was being written in color in terms of books, things that I saw on television, what have you. Coming from a large family, my mom, there were 12 of my mom, and my dad, there were 5 of them. And we were always going back into what we call the country, because as time went on, my people moved into the city for more convenience. But we never forgot, they never forgot the people back out home. Both were born on a plantation. My dad, Weelani Plantation. My mom, the old Flashman that later became Waverly Plantation. So I was one of the children of 10 who it seemed I always wanted to go with my parents when they were going for these visits. And it just kind of concerned me that as my uncles and aunts were transitioning, and not only them, but some of my favorite teachers in Sunday school and regular school, that I knew that they had made such a difference in our lives, but I wasn't reading about them or hearing anybody speak of them. So I did get started while I was still working with the state, but did not have the full time to devote. So when I was able to retire, I was a part of the John G. Riley Foundation that worked to save the Riley House. It was going to be torn down and an electric substation put there. But this group had come together to buy back the back taxes and save the house. And just quickly, Mr. Riley, just so you know what Riley's all about, Mr. Riley was born into slavery in Lynn County in a place behind the Knott House. But he went on to become the first African-American principal at the original Lincoln High School. He owned over 50 parcels of real estate by the time of his death. He was Grand High Priest of the Royal Ark Masons of Florida. He traveled the Southeast establishing Episcopal churches, African-American Episcopal churches, on and on and on. He was the guardian. Back then, if you had to be recognized by a bank or whatever, you had to have a guardian. So people would go to Mr. Riley for that. And his house was also a haven when there was a friction between whites and blacks or whatever, especially the people in the Masonics knew if they could work that person down to the Riley house, Mr. Riley would work with his brothers to get, usually it was a gentleman, a man, male. They would work that person out of the community and take care of the family until it was safe to bring them back into the community. So that's what the Riley House is all about. So when I decided I left state government, I could have gone into politics. People were trying to get me to do that. I said, well, you know, other people can run for politics, but other people could not do the assignment that I was being given, which was to step in and begin researching and documenting this history. So that's how I came to do what I'm doing. I started with a camcorder and a tripod, riding the city and county with my mom, who was in her early 90s at the time. And I said she was my research assistant. And to this day, through the 24 years, we've added a second building during my time, created an endowment. As I said about the internship program, we have that, and we organized the Florida African American Heritage Preservation Network, which we're doing the same thing for these 32 museums that is happening with the Riley. Because when I stepped in, I knew these people were operating. I was secretary of NAACP2 at the time, so I knew where people were located. But they were in the shadows of statewide historic preservation initiatives. So I was able to make that connection, establish that. And then the last thing, the President Obama appointed me to the National Institute of Museum and Libraries Board, and that was beneficial to the entire city, county, and state, because during my tenure, we established a separate grant category, African American Historic Preservation Grant category, and that transitioned over to National Trust, and they too now have a specific category for African American grants. And I will stop there, but that is what got me to doing what I decided to do.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I think the thing that got me started was simply my heart for caring. When I was little, I was brought to the homeless shelter to kind of really give back to the community. I was like maybe 3 or 4 years old. And just, I think from that one experience over the years, wanting to give back and having the resources to do so made me want to continue to give back to the community. And so about 2016, I was about 11 years old. I decided, and I told my mom, she's actually in the back, that's my momager for everything. I told her I had an idea to give back to the community. And I know there's several organizations, whether that's right here in Tallahassee or in the world, that are giving back to youth. But I wanted my organization to be different because I knew that me meeting the need would come straight from my heart. It also would come from knowing the issues that are going on with my peers. I like to say that even with me starting K.Jean's Caring Connection, just one need, whether it was homelessness, trying to raise awareness for youth caregivers, or simply just meeting a need, it was something that needed to be done. Whether it was just me wanting to do it or me seeing it in the news, I just know that someone out there needs someone to really raise awareness for something or just be that difference in the world. And that's what I wanted KCK to be. So I started that. And then over the years, Inspiring Moments with K.Jean emerged as a way for me to use my voice to foster positive conversations with other people in my community and simply share something positive, because we're always on the news. We're constantly hearing about negative things. And I wanted my show to be different, to allow people to see the positive aspects of what's going on. So that's why I got started.
Well, I've been in law enforcement for a long time, and what I think what I see now has come full circle in terms of the reason why I started in law enforcement. And I know many of you don't remember Nancy Drew. I read every last one of them. The Hardy Boys, read every last one of them. Watched Perry Mason and all of the murder mysteries, Blood and Guts and all of that. That was me. And so when I started in law enforcement, it's so interesting now because what we're doing in law enforcement is the reason why I got into law enforcement, because usually it was a law and order kind of phenomenon when I got into law enforcement. But I saw when I got into law enforcement, it was more than that. And that was looking at the whole person and looking at the reason and the factors of socioeconomics. And so, but I went to Tallahassee Police Department to only put in for 2 years. And then because my dream goal was work for the FBI. And but when I got there, I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed making a difference in the community. And that is the reason why I started in law enforcement. And that's why I love putting on the uniform today, because it is making a difference in the community. It's not just putting the handcuffs on and taking them to the detention center. It is asking the question, why? It is a reason for that person sitting on the porch and walking up to that grandmother who's now retired and trying to find out the reasons why they might be afraid in their community. And so I'm in law enforcement now, and I'm still enjoying it, and that is to make a difference. That's why I'm here today.
I'm from Maine, and
I'm from Maine.
Are you really? Yeah. There's only like 5 people in Maine. I love that. My old boss said, "Jan, we just hired someone from Maine." I'm like, I don't know everyone from Maine.
I'm kind of like from Old Town Bangor, but also down by the coast.
Oh, wow.
Where are you from?
Winslow, Waterville, Augusta. I'm from Winslow.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
I spent some time in Bangor. I know Bangor.
No, but there's a thing with people from Maine. There just is.
We're sarcastic and facetious, and like Barbara could be from Maine. Barbara, you could be from Maine. You can be from Maine if you want.
We also know how to fix things. We know how to fix a lot of things. Do you too?
Yeah. I know how to break a lot of things too.
Yeah.
So I started playing golf when I was 15, and I watched Babe Zaharias, my dad's boss and his mentor. I was very athletic, and he always wanted me to play golf, and I never was interested in it. And I watched this movie, Babe Zaharias, and it was her life story, and I decided I wanted to play, and I got very good very fast. And my mentor would bet this other guy that I could beat him for 9 holes. He had to buy me a new set of clubs. And but because I was so good, I could walk in the world of men. And because when you're good at sports, especially golf, and if you're female, you know, you're accepted. And so that made it easier for me. But I went to school in New Hampshire, very shy, didn't want to leave home. And I just wasn't happy there. And, you know, I'm lucky that I've been able to trust myself and follow my inner compass, and which got me to Tallahassee. And I'm fortunate enough that I started with the city of Tallahassee, and I learned so much on the job. You know, I wanted to learn. I always felt like I tried to go above and beyond. And when my position was available, my old position actually, you know, and I asked my boss, Bill Zimmer, if he would consider me, and he was kind of shocked because I was a female, but he gave me a start. And so that's how I got started. And then again, when I remember when Bill retired, and there were a couple of the men higher up wanted to talk him out of it, and he didn't want to retire. And they said, well, I guess we need to train Jan. And Bill said, Jan already knows. So I was always preparing myself for the next move. And, you know, like I said before, I have a heart for young kids and kids in need, and this gave me a great avenue to help people. So that's my story.
That's awesome. Wonderful.
Hey, thanks so much. I would say I got my start growing up in a big family. I had 7 brothers and sisters. And so somebody had to be the leader. And so they'll tell you that.
So you nominated yourself?
Absolutely. I was the middle child. And I think naturally I could relate to both ends of that spectrum. So there was that. But also there's some one-offs that occurred. One was that I was a Girl Scout. I think that was one of the original women's movements that girls could participate in, because I'm of that era. And then, as it turned out, I applied for a summer job that, to me, it looked like it was going to be the Mod Squad. And so they wanted to hire college students to speak the language of the young people to the police officers in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And so there were 3 girls and 7 guys. Of course, it was always weighted toward the men, and we were all college students, and we did all kinds of things to try to communicate what the needs were in the community. And then I was looking at my plans for college. I ended up at Florida State University. And back then, y'all, you just applied and hoped for the best. And you looked at the book and said, oh, what looks interesting? You didn't do visits and all those things. And when I saw the coursework for social work, it had a little bit of everything. It had a little bit of criminology, a little bit of psychology, anthropology, all those things interested me. So I went ahead and went through with it. And it couldn't have been the best. It could not have been better for me. It gave me that rounded, kind of well-rounded knowledge about communities and working with groups. I remember being a part of a group that was called, back then it was in the 70s. Yes, I was at FSU when they streaked Landis Green. It was called the feminization of poverty. And to me, that was really a groundbreaking phrase, because people want to throw money at things, but they don't want to go to the heart of the solution. So I ended up being a social worker for 12 years within the Duval County school systems, Title I programs, and exceptional student education. And then I had 2 children that decided to stay home for a while. So then I volunteered in the community with the Junior League in Jacksonville, ended up being in that leadership. And as part of the leadership, you could apply for Leadership Jacksonville. That Junior League would pay for you to do that. And so I was accepted in Leadership Jacksonville. And one of my good friends and mentors was the executive director. And she said, hey, once you're done, and since you're not working, why don't you come work part-time once you're done with the class? So that's what I did. And the rest is history. I fell in love with community leadership work, learned so much about the community, about people in it. And then at a point in my life when my husband was commuting over to Leon County to do affordable housing work, he said, oh, it'll be a year or so. And so then I said, oh, that sounds great. We had 3 young boys, and he was gone during the week. And so I was shrew mommy during the week. And then on the weekends, he'd come home and he'd be fun daddy. And when it got to be year 3, I was like, dude, we need to move to Tallahassee. So we did. And as we were moving, someone contacted my husband for us and said, hey, I heard the Leadership Tallahassee executive director is leaving. Barbara ought to apply. And I said, I don't know anything about Tallahassee. So I faxed my application in and got a call for the interview. I was interviewed by Glenda Thornton, who many of y'all know, and others. And when I got back home to Jacksonville after driving over, I got a call that night and they offered me the job. So I said, oh, I need to think about it. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'll call you back tomorrow. And so I called my husband. He goes, they offered you the job. Well, did you say yes? I said, no, I told him I was going to think about it. He said, call him back. So I called the guy back. It was probably 8:00 at night. I called him back and said, I'm in. So moved here 24 years ago. Leadership Tallahassee started out as really the single adult program. And since I've been there, there have been other needs and initiatives that we started. And one that I'm really proud of is the Youth Leadership Tallahassee program for high school juniors. So I feel like my background being so varied and touching on various community needs and issues really come to bear on how we present our community leadership program. This isn't leadership where you're going to learn how to motivate your employees or you're going to learn how to build consensus in a formal way. It's more learning about your community, the good, the bad, and the ugly, warts and all, and then figuring out what your place is, what your, passion is, where you want to give back once you graduate. And so I feel like that will be my legacy, that I'm more of someone who empowers people. I'm not going to be at the front of the room. I'm not going to tell y'all how to handle a situation, but I'll happy to be in the back and, whisper it or shout it out. But for me, it's been just the perfect perfect job. It's the best job in the world.
Very good. Well, you've all been recognized as trailblazers, and that, I mean, I think the word trailblazer is so good because it really is sometimes it's creating a pathway that might otherwise not have existed. And a lot of times I think when you're starting out doing something or taking on sort of that kind of leadership or that sort of role, you don't know that you're going to have influence. You don't know that what you're doing matters. It really can kind of leave you sometimes, I think, just like, does it matter? Am I doing the right thing? Or just different levels of uncertainty. So I was curious if that's something you could relate to. Like, did you know on the pathway you were on early on, did you have some, wondering about it and that sort of stuff? But then also, when did you realize, no, what I'm doing is really having impact? I am blazing a trail. And then have you seen, what are some of the impacts you've seen because of what you've done, because you took that chance and worked to make it happen? So I'd just be curious to know, because a lot of times I think for other people, future trailblazers, they'll be having some of those same feelings. Who'd like to start it off?
I can do it this time.
Okay.
I think when I first came into the organization, it really was an organization of men. I would say the first class, I came in on class 17, was mainly men and a sprinkle of women, and people were placed in the class just on recommendation. Now we have a very rigorous selection process, and it's interesting to see how the demographics have shifted in every way. Race, sex, gender, well, that's the same thing, station in life, career, volunteers, all the things. And I don't think as it was evolving that I recognized it until a few years ago when I looked back and realized that well over 50% of our applications are women. And so we don't try to do a 50-50 men, women when we finally select the class. That's not the point. The point is we're selecting leaders. And so I didn't realize when I started out, although at my first orientation, when I looked around and there was only one Black member in the class, I leaned over to the guys in the chair and I said, "What's that about?" He said, "We're trying." And I'm like, we got to try harder. So in all areas, I feel like we've managed to become more equitable and representative of the community. And that was something I don't think I knew when stepping in that would be something I would be taking on.
Does someone else want to speak to that?
Well, I was just thinking about that. I think for me, what inspired me to keep doing what I was doing, although I was going to continue anyway, because once I start something, I hardly stop. But the first publication that we did was Tallahassee Black Series. And I was able to get 250 photos and go to Arcadia Press with the captions and all, and they published it for free because when we opened O'Reilly, we had zero budget, we didn't have any money. So anyway, but as the book was distributed, I started to have people come over. I remember Prentice Johnson, I think she passed away now, was one of them. And she said, "Oh, Althemese, I saw this book." She said, "I have been hearing about my grandfather, but I never knew him, what he looked like or whatever." She said, "But there was a book that a friend of mine had of a Masonic lodge. There were like 15 to 18 older men, like even past my dad's age." She said, "My great-grandfather is one of those people. Do you have that book?" And I was able to share that book with her. And so it seemed like, and that was one of many where people have called and said, "There's this lady in this book, and I'm pretty sure it's whatever." And so I think what I did, what Riley did, was to bring a way for people to know that you should preserve your history, preserve your photographs, preserve those photo clips about somebody in your family, because one day it can mean a big difference to younger people in your family coming along to know what was accomplished, what was achieved. Your daddy was in Rising Sons and Daughter, and he was the secretary, though he might have had a third grade education. He was a part of this group that made a big difference. And I think because I knew that my parents, my dad was third grade completion, my mom, 11th grade. They both dropped out because one of the parents died early. And being the oldest, they had to drop school to help take care of the family. But they had a passion for education. And of course, church, we had to be we were religious people. But when they said, when you finish your education, if we talked about getting married or job, said that's after you finish your education. And for them, that means finish college. And so though they were, their education was cut off, they sent all 9 of us, 10, to college, Florida A&M University. So I think those kinds of feelings are things that surfaced in the community. And then I have to say this, Miss Thelma Lawrence, whose husband was principal at Lincoln, called me one day and she said, Althemese, I've been reading about what you're doing. She said, I think I have something you'd be interested in. So I went over there. She had a scrapbook in an old Sears Roebuck bag. And in that scrapbook were 52 one-room Negro schoolhouse photos. She was a teacher, and she had an assignment to go and evaluate these different schools for health, safety, what have you. And she had actually written in there by the school the name, the evaluation results. And so that was the second publication to do the history of African American education from 1865 to 1968. And it includes those 52 schools that served descendants of slaves. That's why we call them one-room schoolhouses. It didn't have more than 1 or 2 rooms, but this is where they went to school. So it's that kind of thing that kind of kept me, moving and going, oh, I'm finding some interesting things here that I wasn't even aware of. And when I went to the school district and said, do you all have some information? I want to do some further research. They said, we didn't have any schools like that. I said, yes, Gum Pond, Horseshoe, Centenary. They looked at me like I was, and then they went and got a school box down and said, this is our history box. But it was talking about Superintendent Couch. I said, no, I'm not talking about the 80s and that. I'm talking out back. So anyway, so that was the motivation that just kept me going.
Wow. And after Kaylin comments, there's a couple other questions we really want to get to because we want to make sure everyone walks away with some encouragement and advice that you've learned from your journey. So be thinking about that. But Kaylin, we want to hear your perspective on this question before we move on.
I think there's definitely been moments in my life, or just me right now, because I know I don't have as much experience as all of the lovely women sitting with me, but there definitely have been times, whether on social media, you see so much going on. And I constantly get asked the question, how do you do all of this? I wear a lot of hats, whether that's student, leader, executive director, radio host, and through it all, I think the one thing that pushes me to keep going are little people, whether that's cousins, people at my school who come up to me and are like, I saw you do that. I think I could do that too. And just knowing, I never envisioned myself being in the place I am today, but I knew that whatever I was doing, someone else needed to hear it. I know that even the dreams that I have, the goals and the aspirations that I have in life, there are other generations looking at me to say, okay, it's possible. I know that even past COVID or past how the world is evolving, it's still possible for you to get out there and really be in the community. So even through my small moments of doubt or wondering if what I'm doing is making a difference, being able to see everyone here, be able to have these opportunities to just have moments like this where I can even sit among other women in the community who are doing amazing things. It helps me know that what I'm doing is the right place I should be.
Absolutely. And you're already seeing that you're blazing that trail. I heard many of you, I've heard it before today, and I heard it today that I didn't sign up to be a trailblazer. This is something that, you were following passion and purpose and opportunity, and it landed you here, but others have learned from what you have done. So can you share some of the lessons you've learned on this journey? and an advice and encouragement that you would give to others as they pursue their own.
The two words that you just used, passion and purpose, very critical because, as you mentioned, did not sign up or didn't think of myself as a trailblazer, but you cannot put a cost and a price on passion. When you have a passion for what you do, first of all, it's no longer a job. It is what you're doing to make a difference. And then when you know that your purpose in life is to make a difference, that's the undergirding and that's the thrust that you have. If there's any advice that I can give to any woman, man, boy, girl to give, and that is understanding the struggles that comes with passion. You have to balance your passion and balance your struggles. And to understand that when you get the struggles and that they might look like a rock being thrown at you, you take the rock and you build it as a foundation. That foundation stands you up and gives you the confidence to go through what you have to go through. Nobody told you the road is going to be easy when you're following passion and purpose. But what you have to understand is this: when you know you have purpose in life and you've been placed somewhere, you have been strategically placed in a purpose to make a difference. And that's what it's all about. And I love that you said that, because I think sometimes people think if I can get the dollar amount that I know I'm supposed to have. But I just want to end with this: nobody can put a price on your purpose and the passion that you have to make a difference. And that's what has to ignite you to make a difference.
So I'm going to say, I want to tell a story first. One day I was out playing golf and I saw a young kid standing on the side of the golf course, and it looked like he was swinging a golf club. And I walked over across the fairway and I asked him, he was about 12 years old, and I asked him what he was, why wasn't he in school? And he told me he was homeschooled. Well, and he said he lived with his grandmother, and he wasn't swinging a golf club, he was swinging a stick. So this was like 16 years ago. And I said, what do you want to go hit a bucket of balls? And so he ran I told go to the pro shop, and I borrowed someone's phone because I didn't have a phone, and called the pro shop and said, this young man, give him a 9-iron. And so he had dropped out of school in the 8th grade, and he spent his time at the golf course playing golf, and basically for free. And today he's on PGA Latin America tour. Wow. So my point with that is you just never know. You do the littlest thing, and I didn't even think about it. And I never even, he told the story about 5 years ago, and he's got so many sponsors, and he's a leader. He's a leader for, I think, old and young kids, but people, old people and young people, not. So, you just never know what you do, how it impacts somebody later. And my advice for anyone would be to not take things personally. And people say things to you and do things, and they just might be having a bad day, but you have to take your life experiences. And when you lose someone you love, or you suffer an illness, or those are the things that matter in your life. And just balance it. Don't take things that people say and do to you personally.
But sometimes you have to speak up. So, a lot of times we get to the point of, I don't want to say anything. We were having that conversation before we started the program today, that we have to be empowered enough to know when it's time to fight and when it's time to listen. And a lot of times we don't pave the way and become the trailblazer because we don't speak up to make a difference, especially in the workplace. And if you stay silent, sometimes we suffer in silence. We see a wrong, or we see something that needs to be changed. We go home, we take it in, and become bitter and don't want to make a difference. But I just want to encourage those of us who are listening, who are in this room, if you make a commitment to yourself that I will not be silent when I see wrong. I will not be silent because I've been placed here for a purpose and for a reason. And if you've been placed in a place for a purpose and a reason, you've got to learn how to speak. And you can do it diplomatically, you can do it tactfully, you can do all those things. But please, If we're going to be trailblazers, if we're going to make a difference in the world, we have got to learn to stand up and to speak up.
I try to do that. I get in trouble sometimes. But I think it's really important to also have the courage to speak up when you see something that you think, could be better.
It's okay to get in trouble a little bit.
A little bit of good trouble. Yeah, good trouble. So,
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. Now, the area that I went into, when I stepped into it, and I like what you're saying, you have to speak up and take some challenges sometimes. When I started with the historic preservation, the first thing was to find some money. When I would go to the COCA meetings, the state grant meetings, and we are close people now, I'll call on them and they have, we really all up in there now. But I was the only one. But I knew we had to change that. And it didn't come by starting, and I have nothing against protest movements or that kind of thing, but it came by getting involved with people that I felt could help me. Kelly helped me with my first nonprofit training. That was on another thing. But I went and met with Peggy Brader, who was over culture. I said, Miss Brader, I need to meet with you, and I did. And I told her where Riley was and what we needed to do. And she said, well, I'm gonna put one of my young men with you to show you how to work this first grant, because I hadn't written a grant, period. And we did that. The first grant we didn't get. But I kept going. And then with Department of State, it was like an auditorium of like 200 people. And it was Miss Pinkney, African-American woman from Miami, and myself among that group. And I sat there and heard them saying that we've been doing this program for like 13 years, and we have $17 million this year to a lot. I said, wait a minute. And these are taxpayers' dollars. So you're listening for these things, and who's getting and who's not benefiting. Okay, so if a certain population is not benefiting on this final list of funded projects, what can I do to help this? And so that led to, I need to know more about grant writing. I need to know more about that system. We need more people on the panels, because there were no people on the panels, African-American people on the panels. So those were things that had to be addressed, but not through a group thing. It was like meeting with the people who were in charge and saying, we need to change this. Riley is in need. I know of others who are in need as well. And through time, like I said, and we did have one division director because, and I don't know how to, the thing that we have going on now about the difference in the races and whatever, we have people on all sides who want to help, want things to be of equality. And I guess maybe I learned that too, because my father worked for Lewis State Bank for 42 years as the head custodian. And the Lewises were civil rights people. They marched in everything, but this was a prominent white family. So I grew up in that environment. But there was a division director at Department of State, Janet Snyder Matthews, who gave me my first scholarship to a conference. We went to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and she was my sponsor. But she said to me, I need you, she said, I've been hearing you, and I want to expand this. And let's bring some of the other African-American museums and do something about these panels that who are ranking these grants. So it's all about, as she's saying, looking to see where the gaps are, what's missing, and not antagonizing or making anything frictional, but what's the best path to get from A to Z.
Right. So, did you hear the one about, so here's the thing too, kind of piggybacking on what Althemese is sharing. For me, collaboration is a key word and way to operate. I always tell people we don't have to be leadership everything. We don't need to create every kind of leadership group. I've threatened to do a leadership for toddlers, but we already have the adult program and they're close enough. So when we were looking at doing a senior leadership program, and I don't mean high school senior, I mean, older than 55, we collaborated with the City of Tallahassee Senior Services Foundation to create a program we call TALL, Tallahassee Active Lifelong Leaders. And so we're the advisors, but they're the experts in that industry or sector and have access to those constituents. So I think collaboration is something that bodes well for all of us here. Sometimes I don't have any money. Leadership Tallahassee doesn't have money. So I have people, I have leaders, I have people committed to the community that I can help marshal to get behind an issue or learn more about an issue. The Florida Bar Association wanted to do a leadership program for new lawyers to encourage them to do pro bono work, which is free work in the community. And so when that was coming about, I again was an advisor and supplied Leadership Tallahassee graduates who were attorneys who understood that world, but also understood the community. And so absolutely don't feel like you have to take it all on yourself. You might be the catalyst or you might be the idea person, but certainly bring in others that can help you reach the goal that you have in mind.
So like for today, I would just want to ask, is there something like when you were coming here today that you thought, I really want to share? I really want to tell people this. Is there something that you'd like to share? That
I see you nod your head. Really? I was just shaking. Yeah. It is incumbent upon us, each one of us in this room, to reach back, reach to our side, to bring along someone with us. It's a sad commentary when we feel like we have achieved and made it, and we're not trying to make sure that we are imparting into others to bring them along, and don't become intimidated because of who they are and what they might do brighter than you. But to have confidence in yourself that I'm going to bring somebody along with me to make a difference. And that's how we ensure that we're continuing to make a difference in the world. Because if you can look in the mirror and you know that you're making a difference, then that means that you can bring somebody beside you to do that. But, because that's who you are. But if you're not doing that, and it's all self-serving, you are defeating your purpose and your passion by being where you are.
So I was telling my mom this today, but I've had something ringing in my head all day, which is don't miss your moment. And I think a lot of times, a lot of people in my generation, but not just in my generation in general, there's a lot of people who may fear the idea that they have or fear actually stepping out. So I would just encourage people to get out in the community. If you have an idea, do the idea. There are a lot of people out there who may be trying to do the same things that you are doing, but that doesn't mean they'll do it the way you will. And so if you have an idea, get out there. And then once you have that idea, don't be afraid of continuing to build upon what you have. It's always good to learn. And it's also good to know that your way of doing something, you don't ever have to feel diminished around someone. Like if you are doing a dream or you have a dream, you never should feel like you have to dim your light around other people. You never should feel like you have to be smaller than others to get the job done. Because at the end of the day, just like we're here today and we're working together to make our community better, I feel like the more people who get out there, get their idea out there and truly maximize their moment, the more we can make the whole world a better place.
Anybody else that wanted to share anything? That was pretty good. That was good. Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, again, I just want to thank you all so much, not only for being here for today, but probably more so, for your impact and everything that you're doing in the community and how you inspire and support so many others and bring so many others along. So we just are honored to have you here today. So thank you. So we have a little round of applause.
Our 2023 Oasis Trailblazers. Awesome, awesome. And we want to thank Oasis for recognizing that just like Women Wednesdays, these voices need to be seen and recognized, and the knowledge that you've gained needs to be connected to the community through avenues like this, Women Wednesdays, and many other ways. There's so much, I feel like we got so much in such a short amount of time from each of you, but thank you for sharing your journeys and your challenges and the things you've learned through those challenges and that you continue to pass on to others. Kaylin's mom, I need to talk to you. I have a 1-year-old at home. If you have any secrets, I just need to know. But Barbara, is there anything? I think we do have a question.
Mike has a question because we should have asked. Does anybody from the audience have any questions?
Just quickly, who starts locally and why? Y'all here for Trailblazer? Who's your Trailblazer that got you to be here? Like, who's the local street for you?
Oh, a trailblazer that you look to maybe along your journey.
I mean, everybody hears the Michelle Obamas of the world, the Malalas of the world, everybody nationally, but I have a lot of local people that I know in my life. Of course, I always say my mother because she has shown me just what resilience looks like, but people like Miss Diane Williams-Cox, people like Dr. Judy Mandrell, there's so many people in Tallahassee who I've been able to not only see and shadow, but really understand that one act can make a huge difference. And so seeing people like them, there's a lot of people in the room here. I've seen Dr. Argatha Gilmore. I've seen just a lot of women in Tallahassee, women and men who have stepped out. And so they continue to push me, and even little ones besides me, who there's a girl named Emanuela. She actually just does music. Seeing her, even at the age she is, continuing to pursue her dreams. It's just those little moments that cause me to keep going and keep allowing me to, as Miss Kelly Odie honored me, be the girl that can do anything.
Yeah, and I would add Kelly to that list, like for
Yes.
me as a, again, when you see. Okay, well, I wanted to tell you about something, but I also wanted to ask your help with something. So next week, we're really going to have an incredible speaker. She's coming down from Atlanta, and I really want to try to help spread the word. But her name is Lara Hodgson, and if you notice on there, she wrote a book called Level Up. And her co-author on that book is Stacey Abrams. So is everybody here familiar with who Stacey Abrams is? So Lara met Stacey like when they were much younger, and they were at some conference, and people were saying what they want to do in their life and so forth. And Stacey Abrams said, "I want to be president of the United States someday." So she just gravitated like, who's that person that just has these big dreams and these big ambitions? And it ended up they formed a friendship and a real collaboration. And they've started like 3 businesses together and wrote this book together. But right now, Lara, she's the founder of something called Now Corp, which is actually a huge scaling business that really does some incredible things for B2B businesses so that you can get paid now instead of waiting. Sometimes like it can take 30, 60, 90 days to get your pay, but she's just doing some cool stuff. But she's really, between the two of them, come together to put together their knowledge of what they learned through the 3 businesses that they've started and how to help other people and sort of apply those things to your business, but also just to your life and your career. How can you level up? How can you step up and, sort of get the things you want? So I hope that you can return here next week for that event with Lara. I'd like a good turnout for that, make it worth her while that she came here. She's going to talk about her book and just help me spread her word. That would be wonderful. And then I just want to emphasize again how collaboration came up today. That is the core of Women Wednesdays. It's all about building a collaborative community of women that help each other succeed. And so any way that you want to get involved with our community or any way we can support what you're doing, just please let us know. We're stronger when we're together and we support each other. So I thank you all. So we're going to do a couple things right now. We're going to close things down here. But one of the things we always do with Women Wednesdays is we take a group photo. So I would like all the speakers to stay up here. We're gonna slide our chairs forward a little bit so everybody can still, in a minute. And then we're gonna
Thank you,
ask
everyone.
everybody here today, our guests,